We're learning much more tonight about the 7 people who lost their lives in the parade shooting here and hearing the harrowing stories of survival, bravery, and loss as the horror unfolded. They call it a suburb, but Highland Park really feels like a small town, now shaken to its core when those gunshots rang out. When did you first realize something was wrong?
Well, the first thing that happened were there were sounds of firecrackers, and it caught our attention. And then the next thing we know, there were bullets coming at us.
I met Susie and Dean Zelensky.
It became very chaotic, pandemonium. My husband and our friend took off towards the back of the courtyard.
At that point, you became separated.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know we were separated, but yeah.
Susie scrambled under a bench. Did you see people who were hit or who needed help?
There was a man who was face down, and he was white. He looked like he had no blood, and I was pretty sure he was deceased.
Then she says a man appeared with a 2-year-old child.
And he said, "Can you take my child, baby? Can you take her?" And I said, "Yes, sure, give her to me." And then I took her, and I put her in between me and the cement base of the bench.
He didn't know whether he'd see you again.
No. He said, I have to go find my wife. So he disappeared.
He then returned, saying his wife had been shot and needed to go to the hospital.
We exchanged phone numbers, and he said, "Would you mind please taking her home with you?" Which is what we did.
Can you imagine, you're a parent, can you imagine the process of having to give your child to a stranger under those circumstances?
He was so brave.
What a gut-wrenching call.
Yeah.
He went back into the thick of it, not knowing what's going on.
To help his wife.
Who was shot through the leg.
They would reunite with him later. They say his wife is doing okay tonight. I also met 89-year-old Arnie Kamen.
And all of a sudden we get this noise. It sounded like fireworks. Bang, 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 bang.
Who was sitting on the curb with his family in the line of fire. He'd been shot and is now recovering. These things happen with great regularity in this country, as you know. Did you ever think it could visit Highland Park?
No, I did not think it would come to Highland Park.
But it did. And tonight, this close-knit community is reeling. 7 lives stolen, including Jackie Sunheim, remembered for her kindness and warmth, working as a preschool teacher at her synagogue. She had a husband and daughter. Nicholas Toledo was there with his son and nephew, watching the parade from his wheelchair when he was shot and killed. Stephen Strauss was 88. His niece posting on Facebook, "No one should die this way." And tonight, I met the family of Katie Goldstein.
I have been talking to people on the phone today, and I can't believe how many best friends Katie has. How many people have said she was my best friend?
Her husband, Craig, and their daughter, Cassie, heartbroken and overwhelmed with grief. Cassie was at the parade, standing right next to her mom.
I looked up and I saw the shooter shooting down at the kids. And I told her that it was a shooter and that she had to run. So I started running with her, and we were next to each other. And he shot her in the chest, and she fell down, and I knew she was dead. So I just told her that I loved her, but I couldn't stop because he was still shooting everyone next to me. So
she says when the shooting stopped, she rushed over, but her mom had already passed. What's the memory that you want to share with us about your mom?
I want to share how she was before she died. She was waving to the floats. Every float that went by, she waved to them. And
she was having fun.
Yep. She was just a good mom. And I got 22 years with her. And I got to have 22 years with the best mom in the world.